Hi, so welcome to today's session on the second noble truth. If you remember, second noble truth is the cause of the first noble truth. First noble truth is a statement that there is suffering. Statement means it's something to be investigated. And then the second noble truth is the cause of suffering or cause of discontentment, cause of emptiness in our heart. It's like we're all chasing after something, but we don't know really what. And so we end up chasing material things as a way to fill the heart, which feels rather empty. And we chase after things to do every day, right? To keep our minds busy, to keep the heart busy so it doesn't get empty. So what's the cause? What's the cause of this emptiness, meaninglessness, this fact that we have to keep chasing non-stop in order to fulfill the heart? So the second noble truth is craving. There are many words for craving. There's thirst, there's desire, there's wanting, there's clinging, right? So in Pali it's called tanha. So the cause of all the ill wills in the world is wanting or craving. There are three types of craving. First is craving for sensual pleasures. In Pali, this is called kama tanha. Anything that stimulates the senses, such as eating, music, shopping, or even just thinking. So even if you're not really into eating or shopping, does it mean you got no kama tanha? Not true, because there's also craving for becoming, bhava tanha, becoming this person or that person, becoming, craving to become a happy person, right? Or, well, no, we don't crave to be angry, sad, or bored, right? So we crave for not becoming angry, sad, or bored. So that's vibhava tanha. Okay, sick and tired of being angry, bored, being this kind of person or that kind of person, right? So craving for becoming can be somebody who craves death and they go for suicide because they crave not to become what? Not to become alive. They crave not to be this person who's miserable. So usually a depressed person would think that, right? They no longer want to be depressed, so they seek to become something else. What do they seek? They seek release, and that release is usually suicide for people with clinical depression or clinical psychological disorder, as you can see. Yeah. So I mentioned before that actually all three things, if you summarize them into one, it is just craving. So for a normal person who doesn't have psychological disorder, so as I was saying, all three things are really just one thing. So for a normal person who who isn't depressed or anything, they are used to having their six senses stimulated, right? So as I was mentioning, if you have no interest in food or what, or music or shopping or partying, but your mind can't stop thinking and it craves wanting to think. So, in short, sensual pleasures is really about stimulating the sense bases, including the brain, the world of ideas, the fact that most people can't stop thinking. And when there's nothing to think about, they feel insecure. They want to find things to think about. How do you find things to think about? You start thinking, what do I do next? What do I bring my children to do? What do I blah blah blah? It goes on and on. Okay, so it's not just about being materialistic, wanting to buy expensive stuff. It's not just about that. So it's from gross to subtle level. Kama tanha. Yeah. So I explained before, okay, wanting to become and wanting to not become is actually just one thing as well. Wanting to be alive means you don't want to die. Wanting to die means you don't want to be alive. So it's still one thing, right? Okay. So other ways to see craving. We crave for distractions through the senses. If there is no sound, If there is no thoughts, we don't feel any feeling, we become scared. That's why death is a scary thing, because your body will eventually stop feeling. You can't taste, can't really see. Your senses will start shutting down. Therefore, death is scary, because we spend all our lives stimulating the senses in order to feel alive. For us, aliveness means stimulated senses. Okay, so craving for continued existence, because we're afraid when the senses shut down, we become nothing. Craving for the end of existence would be those who are so tired of all these sense-based things that gives them anxiety, makes them feel depressed, make them feel alone, worried, that they want to end the sense stimulation, so they want to kill themselves, right? So these are other ways you can see craving. So what keeps us tied to our senses? The fetter that keeps us shackled. Fetter is like a fetter is a chain, right? What keeps us chained? So what keeps the mind chained up, okay, to all this craving and wanting? There's the eye object, and if it's pleasant to look at, we want to continue looking at it, right? Then we perceive, oh, feeling is born of this perception through eye object. Perception of what? For the girl, you'd be like, oh, this guy looks cute. This guy looks like the man I could want to date. Same for the guy, right? Perception. This overall first impression. Then there's a feeling of a bit of excitement. Then there's the intention. Maybe I should ask for his number or her number. Right. So is the eye or the eye object the fetter, the chain that keeps us shackled to impermanent happiness? That keep us shackled, chained to this idea of fulfillment, which is ultimately not fulfilling. Is the eye or the eye object the fetter? Answer: no, not the eye or the eye object. It's the craving that arises, the feeling born from intentions, right? Oh, this guy, he looks cute. Perception. Feeling born. Maybe I should see him more. Yes, intention. I should see him more. I think he could be the guy I could spend the rest of my life with. That's that intention. That's that craving. What's the craving? He could bring me happiness. See, in the whole world, whatever we do, we're only looking for happiness. No matter what we do. Why do you want to bring your kids to the beach? You want happiness for them? Why do you want to go to the beach yourself? You want to chill out. You want happiness? Why do people drink? Because they want to chill out. They want to relax, and to them that's happiness. Right? So, all of us just want to be happy, in short. When we depend on our sense bases and objects for our happiness, what happens? The Buddha said, it's like a dog who is weak with hunger, okay? Somebody who's very thirsty with hunger for happiness, is hanging around a butcher's shop. Then a daft butcher or a skilled butcher and his apprentice would then toss the dog a skeleton scraped clean of flesh and smeared in blood. What do you think, householder? Gnawing on such a fleshless skeleton, would that dog still get rid of his hunger? So the householder answered, no, sir. Why not? Because that skeleton is scraped clean of flesh and smeared in blood. That dog will eventually get weary and frustrated. So it's the same, right? So like the girl who sees the guy, ooh, wow, very hungry what? Thirsting for happiness. That this guy can bring me happiness. So if you're very hungry for happiness, like, if you're not a very pretty girl or handsome guy and you don't really meet a lot of people, then you have this hunger for companionship, right? Then almost anyone who turns up who's not ugly, who's pleasant enough to you, to the person who's really hungry for companionship, due to loneliness, and again because this person is seeking happiness, then give them anything like that. They will feel like they'll be like a dog, right? Hunger for it, right? They'll take it. But eventually they'll get weary and frustrated. Why? Because that kind of happiness is very surface. You're not finding you're just finding a person to fill the void in your heart. You're not truly loving the person. And eventually the result will be feeling tired and frustrated. So the Buddha went on to say, suppose a vulture or a crow or a hawk was to grab a scrap of meat and fly away. Other vultures, crows, and hawks would keep chasing it, pecking it, clawing at it. What do you think, householder? If that vulture, crow, or hawk doesn't quickly let go of that scrap of meat, wouldn't it result in death or deadly suffering for them? So you see, it's like a rich man who holds on to his wealth, or a powerful king in the country during the Buddha's time, who has so much power and wealth. There will be a lot of people plotting to take that wealth away or to take that power away. A very good example would be Myanmar, right? Aung San Suu Kyi has the power, but she doesn't have the power, the might of the military. So the general got jealous. He just pecked at her for her power, take it away, right? So if Aung San Suu Kyi didn't let go, which she didn't, what happened to her? She was thrown into jail. Nobody knows whether she's alive or dead. Nobody knows, except for the army chief who says she's alive, but really nobody knows. Wouldn't that result in death or deadly suffering for them? Right? So it is craving that keeps us shackled to the world of senses. Yeah? The world of senses and repeated intention to want to do things, to think of things. So in the example I gave, right, for example, Aung San Suu Kyi, right, you'll be questioning me, but Maisie, she's doing it for the good of the people. To be honest, nobody can know another person's intention, which is karma. Only she knows. And if she's truly doing it for unselfish reasons, for the good of the people, then, it is not a bad desire. Because craving is desire, and not all desires are bad. Such as desire for the Dharma is not a bad thing. Okay? Okay, so so it's not wise for us to comment on other people's action because we don't truly know their intentions, right? But anyway, so the Buddha is talking about craving for, in other ways lah. We're not going that deep here. So he said, although there's another way you can look at it. A person whose desire is for the Dharma to liberate the mind, he or she may not be interested in Aung San Suu Kyi's position. You get what I mean? So in the example I gave it's quite complex, so I have to explain so much. So if Aung San Suu Kyi has good intention, definitely her actions are, it still brought suffering because she didn't let go of the power to that general who demanded to be president of Myanmar. Therefore, he created this civil war, right? Is the fault on her? Not really. We're not sure. We don't know the intention. We don't know her intention, so we cannot comment. But in this case, the Buddha is talking about craving that keep us shackled to the world. If your intention and desire is to liberate the mind, to benefit yourself and to others, to help others find true happiness that is not temporary, then you have to look at this craving carefully, okay, and your intentions. So he continued, a man searching for fruit climbs a tree to eat his fill and to stuff his garments with fruit to take home. While he is there, another man searching for fruit comes along. The second man can't climb the tree, but he has an axe, so he chops the tree down. If the first man doesn't quickly get down the tree, he may break an arm or a leg or even die. So again, when we are craving short-term to fill our hunger quickly without discernment, without thinking through properly, we may get into trouble, like in this sense, right? We have to learn to be discerning about our desire, our craving in our heart. What is it exactly that causes us to speak and act in a certain way? What is our true intention? As the Buddha notes, we hope for happiness in sensual pleasures, not because they have ever really satisfied us, but because we can't imagine any other escape from pain and suffering. If we allowed ourselves to believe that there is another alternative, we'll be more willing to question our strong faith in our craving and attachment, more willing to look for that alternative and give it a try. And as the third simile argues, if we look in the right way, we will find it. It is very true, because our world, actually most people in our world are not very mature. Okay, and they don't ask deep questions, which again, this is not a fault, right? We are like children, eventually grow into maturity. So most of the humans on this earth are not yet very mature, so we don't know how to ask deep questions. So therefore, there are Dharma teachers and helpers around, correct? So yeah, so therefore, a lot of us stimulate our senses as the only way to distract ourselves from the suffering and the pain and the discomfort that we don't want to look at. But however, if there's another way out, if someone recognizes that this repeated craving to distract oneself, either with material means or through endless thinking, if they realize that there's another way, maybe they'll have faith enough to try it. For me at least, I recognize that thinking incessantly, for me, is an endless prison. So I want to break the chain of this prison. Therefore, I'm on the Dharma path. For me, it's not about because I crave for food or shopping, because naturally I'm not really into these things, consumerism in short. But I am, I think a lot, and I do feel insecure when my senses are not stimulated sometimes, because it feels like, oh no, I'm gonna die, or you get what I mean? Okay, so it can go to that level, subtle level. You got to look deeply in yourself. Where is craving born and where does it land? So this is from the long discourse, the Dika Nikaya, Sutta number 22. Where does that craving arise and where does it settle, right? If something that arises, it must settle like dust. Okay. Wherever in the world seems nice and pleasant, there is craving. It arises and settles. So it means that if your world, your little world of ideas and your family life is very pleasant, then that is where you yearn for it to continue, and your heart settles there and it doesn't want to let go. That's where it arises and settles. That's why some Buddhist teachers say people who are generally happy or the greedy sort, they normally wouldn't go on a spiritual path because they are generally happy and their desires, their tanha, kama tanha is being fulfilled. So they naturally just stay where they are. Their craving settles. So okay, next. What in the world seems nice and pleasant? So the Buddha said, the I in the world seems nice and pleasant, meaning what you see is pleasant. And it is there that craving arises and settles. So if you have a very like a trophy wife, okay, or if you have a trophy husband, it's like nice to you, good looking, can provide a lot of things for you, then you look at him or her like a god every day. That's where craving arise every day, and it settles. Okay. The following list of properties that relate to the senses gradually move from a more basic to the more sophisticated. Okay, the ear, the nose, the tongue, body, the mind. In the world seems pleasant and nice, and there craving arises and settles. Okay, so the sutta continues lah. Feeling born of eye contact, perception of sights, intention regarding sights. Okay, all this is where. So when we say craving related to the senses gradually move from more basic to more sophisticated. What does it mean? When you see a trophy wife, when you have a trophy wife or husband, before they become a wife and husband, it's very basic. It's just lust, very basic lust there. You get to know the person. Oh my goodness, this person is a nice person, right? To top it out, they are good looking. Oh my god, to top it out, they're so nice to you. Or then that craving goes in beyond the eye, or wanting to see the person goes deeper into the heart. You don't want to let this person go. You cannot imagine losing this person. Then to deepen that, you by law marry this person, tie them up. You won't let them go. So you see, it becomes deeper and deeper. There are different levels. Okay. So our choices, the choices we make depends on perception, our belief, right? Which was built from the more basic sense bases, the eye, the ear, the nose, the touch. Okay. Then intention regarding ideas in the world seems nice and pleasant. So I have a very pleasant idea about the world. The world is in a good place now. I think I can live here forever. In Singapore, it's very safe. That's where my craving arises and settles here. Simple as that. Okay. And we expect Singapore to stay the same, not changing, provide that security. You see how it goes deeper? All right. Yeah, I have a lot more on this slide, but I think that's enough.